Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and on this episode of Lost Media File, I'm going to talk about DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince video for A Nightmare on My Street. This is a little different. When I talk about lost media, it's usually something that's like totally lost. This was actually found, spoilers, but the whole sort of story is interesting, and thus why I wanted to make a video about it. And DJ Jazzy Jeff, or DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I think you know who the Fresh Prince is, but on that album, I believe the first track is this song, A Nightmare on My Street. And they made it because they wanted to get it in the Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack for Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master. New Line decided to go in another direction and went with the Fat Boys. Basically, their song, Are You Ready for Freddy? DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince knew that this would not be in a Nightmare on Elm Street film. But their previous single, Parents Just Don't Understand, did really well. You've probably heard of it. So they decided their follow-up single would be this one, and that there would be a music video for it, and that they would shoot a music video for it, but they would basically make some guy who looks like not Freddy Krueger. I would say he's like cyberpunk Freddy Krueger, sort of. He definitely looks like a bad Freddy Krueger ripoff. You could tell it's sort of Freddy Krueger. Will Smith calls him Fred a lot. He notably kind of seems like they're sort of summing up Nightmare on Elm Street 2 in the lyrics and so forth. And Not Go to Sleep, and how Jazzy Jeff was, attacked by this Freddy Krueger type character who's not voiced by Robert Englund. It does sample the Charles Bernstein's musical score, which I'm assuming he owns and not the studio, because wouldn't the studio have known what they're up to? But whatever. They put out this video, and they actually put it out right around a couple weeks within Nightmare on Elm Street 4 coming out. This music video and the single come out on August 1st, 1988, or at least the single was released then. I'm assuming it seems like the music video was released around that time. Dream Master was coming out later that exact month in 1988. So, because New Line has already decided to let the Fat Boys do a song of Freddy Krueger and not the Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff, they get kind of upset, and after the video airs on TV, they sue them and demand that the video not be shown on TV anymore. No one's exactly sure how many times it played on MTV or other associated channels that were presumably around at the time, but not many. Some people have said 3, some people have said like once. No one was really sure, but basically New Line sued the living shit out of DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, so much so that they'd have a label on any releases of their album, which was He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper, saying that it had like nothing to do with New Line or Freddy Krueger or Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like that. I'm sort of wondering why they didn't go with this song, because the song actually charted. It got to 15 on the Hot 100. I'm not sure, but I kind of think it might have been the highest charting song if it had been on the soundtrack. The other thing is, the Fat Boys song isn't on the soundtrack. It is a video that New Line let be associated with Freddy Krueger, and it looks pretty much to me like Robert Englund is in that video with Are You Ready for Freddy? But it is not on the soundtrack album. If you bought the soundtrack album, it's more like, metal and like typical stuff, 80s music, but no hip hop or rap or anything. So it's kind of interesting. I had heard this story before, and I never knew that like the Fat Boys was just a song on their album, and this was just a song on the DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince's album, but it wasn't. And I forget if the Fat Boy song is in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which I'm sure is a certain amount of cachet, and having the music video with Freddy probably helped get aired on MTV every Halloween for a long time and stuff. But the fact that they went through all this, and if they had won, they probably wouldn't have gotten on the soundtrack. But it does show, this is a catchy song, A Nightmare on My Street. Like, I listened to this and the Fat Boys song, and I'm more of I like Can You Feel It by the Fat Boys is a song I listen to regularly. It's a great song. I like the Fat Boys a lot, and I have to say the DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince song is way catchier. It got stuck in my head a lot easier, so I sort of get it. But so this music video is basically like told, like, you can't air this on TV. We do not give you the rights to do this. We are not happy about this at all. Why was this on an album and been out for a while and all that is questioned. And the fact that the song performed pretty well on the radio, and it doesn't seem like they took it off of radio play, they just took took away the music video. So what happened to this music video? Basically, they asked for it to be taken off, and it disappeared after that. DJ Jazzy Jeff had a copy, and he said he had a girlfriend who liked soap operas a lot. She taped over it, so his copy was lost. Will Smith gave his copy to his dad, but since parents just don't understand, apparently, he lost it. So it had been missing for about 30 years. And DJ Jazzy Jeff had talked about it with Uproxx, basically saying like he thinks 20 people saw it or something, because from my understanding it aired on MTV, but aired like late at night or something like that. That's what everybody says. I don't know, but it basically, like, it had been lost, and someone uploaded it to YouTube in 2018, just a crappy copy that they had recorded off of something, and they actually released this video. And soon after, and you can find now on the Vivo, I guess, for it's on YouTube. It has a good quality. I forget what the channel is, it doesn't matter, but it's actually online now. You can watch it. So it had been gone for 30 years. It didn't actually get to be on MTV or anything like that, but or for very long, but it's finally released if you want to see it. And those are the clips obviously I've been playing throughout this video. I find this interesting because there are tons of bands and artists who like write a song for a soundtrack and then, like, you know, put it on their album because they adapt it and don't have it be, you know, necessarily about it. But then there's like these guys who are like, let's release the video on the single around the time of this movie that we are not a part of at all. And they have specifically asked us not to be a part of. Like, New Line was presented with it and they chose to go in a different direction. So it's kind of funny to think about this song. Like, who does that? Like, most people like put it on the album and release it after, but they're like, no, we're gonna make as much money as we can off this. Also, that Freddy Krueger was like a staple of two major hip-hop albums at the time is funny to me as well. And that this charted better, like, that's the funny thing, is like this was a much bigger hit, I'm fairly certain, than any song off that soundtrack. And it was the song that most wanted to be there, and they made a video, and which the video, it seems like they're pretty aware of what they're doing, because they even had things before and after saying like this has nothing to do with New Line and so forth, unless that was added later and this whole 30 years thing is like a crock of shit or something. But in my mind, I think they were like, no, we'll protect ourselves. Like, have you ever heard of fair use? I think it's a funny story of a music video that disappeared for nearly 30 years of Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, I'm not going to call him Fresh Prince, but made a song that, you know, they really wanted to be part of a movie's promotional campaign, and who would go on to be one of the biggest movie stars of all time. And New Line said it was basically like, nah, we're not really interested. But the Fat Boys, you know, although to be fair, the Fat Boys were in Disorderlies and Will Smith was in no movies at this time. So I guess in a sense it makes sense. I guess it doesn't, but you know, I'm sure they felt that way at the time. They did get sued. They settled out of court, and mainly to, you know, not release this music video, which we can now see. So New Line tried to make us not be able to see this. It was once lost, but now it is found. I do question though, like, everyone didn't have a copy. Someone uploaded this to YouTube, and then they uploaded a better quality copy. Where'd they get that? Like, I have questions about this whole thing. Regardless, maybe they upscaled it. I don't know. It's here now and you can watch it, and that's the saga of A Nightmare on My Street music video by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So if you have seen A Nightmare on My Street, or know something about the saga, or want to talk about your opinions, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.